Hello, everybody. Sorry, some technical difficulties there. Welcome to the Phoenix 200 here in the Warriors for Peace Indycar Series. I am Nick Masse, joined by Chris Wright temporarily.
Yeah, and that's Nick Massey you're hearing there as we're getting ready to go green. Sorry I was a little late there, like we were working through some issues right there, but it is the Warriors for Peace series, and they are a foundation promoting peaceful change in the world to honor the beautiful life of Jack Shockley. Check out warriorsforpeace.org for more information. Pace car is about to pull off this time. Chad Frankenfield is on the pole. Jason Brophy, Adriano, Mark Murphy, Nicholas Sudak. Green is out. Chad is on the loud pedal heading for turn one. Should be a great race tonight here at Old Phoenix. Nick, I don't know how many of these IndyCar races you watch, but do you have a pick to win here?
It's hard to bet against Chad, on the pole for a second week in a row. I haven't honestly watched a lot of these things. I've only driven this car a handful of times, so I am not up to speed on this car that much. But I'm going to be leaning on you and Derik once he gets in here. And that might be him joining now.
Yeah, I believe we are now joined by Derik Vance here in the booth. How you doing, Derik?
Well, that would be great if my computer Discord would work. That'd be awesome.
Well, right now the green is out. Chad once again won the pole, Derik, just like he has for a lot of these races this year, but he has trouble finding the end of that race, so we'll see what happens tonight as the field is quickly getting strung out here, single file all the way back to about 20th or so, might be the first side-by-side battle. Now, Derik, you know a little bit more about these different cars than Nick or I. What are you expecting to see? What kind of race are we expecting to see here tonight at Phoenix?
Well, with Phoenix being laid out the way it is, you're probably going to see a lot of single file. And figure out the track configuration and where they can run and where they can't run. So I would imagine these opening few laps are going to be just feeling things out, getting used to the car, handling things of that nature, and as the race goes. We'll pick up.
One thing I find interesting is that this is at the old Phoenix instead of the new Phoenix. I would think for an open wheel car, the new Phoenix would maybe be a little bit better for these cars, but maybe wanting to get rid of that dog leg and all the craziness that could bring.
Yeah, and Nick, it could very well be rough. I'll just have to wait and see how things play out as these laps are slowly ticking away. You said that Chad Frankenfield, who took the pole, still sits in the catbird seat, but obviously we're still early in this race, and the drivers are still trying to get a handle on the track and a handle on their car and see what.
Yeah, Chad is just driving away right now in his own little area. We saw him do this at New Hampshire. I'm not sure how alike New Hampshire and Phoenix are, but both of them being ovals and on the shorter side,
Relatively
maybe a
flat.
lot of things. Yeah, maybe a lot of things can transfer over from New Hampshire.
Yeah, the one thing though I think, and sorry for interrupting, but I think the one thing really that we've all noticed is Chad can stay in front. For some reason, he has a hiccup towards the latter part of the race and puts him back towards the pack. And then it seems like something just goes wrong. Caught up in a wreck, and just happy to finish. If he does finish, he finishes near the back. So this has got to be feeling good for him. But this is not a unfamiliar territory with Chad. So we just have to see if he is setting such a blistering pace this evening. If he can keep this up. He's still got obviously we're early in the race, but he is he's the one to beat so far.
Yeah, and this race is only 200 laps, and 200 laps will fly by at this speedway. So, maybe what are we looking at here? One pit stop, maybe two.
You know what? That's a great question. I'm going to sit on the latter part of that. We're probably looking at potentially a two-stop race. I don't know how much either one of you pay attention to IndyCar, but this past weekend they were at the St. Petersburg, open up their season, and just listening to the drivers and the terms they were using, I felt that going into the race it was going to be a two-stop race. And that's exactly what it was. And there was interesting comments made by willpower at the end of that. That he wished there was 50 more laps of that race, so it was more of a three-stop race than a two-stop race. As we see a battle for fourth there between a handful of cars. A lot of single file racing, but hopefully, in the latter part of this race, business picks up.
Yeah, and the field is quickly getting strung out here, making lap times at sub 20 seconds here. Pretty quick lap times, and we're already just a handful of seconds away here, maybe 5, 6, 7 seconds from getting to the back of the field is Chad Frankenfield. So that clean air that he's got right now, it's not going to be clean air for long. He's getting ready to start seeing some slower traffic out in front of him.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and that's going to be first interesting thing we're going to see this evening is Chad has set a blistering pace so far as I see the cautions come out for the first caution of the race at lap 16. But as we're going to the car's obviously going to bunch back up, but it would have been interesting to see if we would have went caution free, how Chad's car would have ran coming up on those slower cars and getting in that dirty air.
We'll take a look at the Robillas Photography replay cam here. What happened? Looks like it is the 96 of Mark Robillas monitoring the replay camera. Oh, he just goes into turn 3 and just comes around on him.
I think, Nick, if you look a couple cars ahead of him, I think something happened ahead of him for him to react to. I do think Mark was the caution, but something happened with Corey Johnson out in front of him entering turn 3.
Back here, see if you can pull it up.
Yeah, it is interesting as we run this replay back inside the car, maybe, but it does look like that the back end of Mark's car just goes out, and as you do see, good eye right there at the top right corner, you do see a car into the wall, but I don't think that really affects Mark at all. His that back end of his car just goes around, and he's along for the ride. So I don't think the car that was into the wall really affected Mark at all.
We're gonna take a look back at who that is here.
Yeah, I believe it's Corey Johnson there, and you know what? I think when he saw that car get sideways, riding on board with Mark there, I think when he saw that car get sideways, he hit the brakes a little bit, and he had all that rear brake in it to help it turn, and it looks like it got loose right when he went to the brake pedal.
Like he got a little help there. Contact with that was Tanner J. Watkins, but contact going into 3.
Yeah, you're definitely right. Mark got a little too cautious there, I think, on the brake there, and that caused his car, the back end of it, to go out and sent him into the wall. That brought up our first caution of today's race. We are at lap 19 of 200 that we are running this evening here from the Phoenix. I believe it's the Phoenix International Raceway. I think Chad Frankenfield, who is currently P1, it was the pole sitter, so he has led all 19 laps so far. Good lap times being laid down. Obviously, the field was starting to get spread out a little bit, but this caution is going to reel everybody else in. And now Chad's going to have to put his head down and back to the grindstone here to work a little bit to get that lead back that he lost proverbially on this first caution of the race.
His car off. We're going back green here.
Not just yet,
Or
Nick.
not,
Yeah.
or delayed green.
Yeah, in IndyCar, and Derik could talk a little bit about that when he wants to. But they do a little bit of a faster start here in IndyCar, like they do in real life, where the leader gets control and whatnot.
Well, it just goes to show. I was telling Chris about how much my inexperience here with IndyCar. I've only driven this thing a handful of times. I've only watched a handful of these broadcasts. But the racing is good. I will say that. Definitely interesting to see these guys try to work the different lines. It's all about the aero. Try to aero block the car behind you. Save tires. Play with the weight jacker. There's a lot more at play here in the Indy cars than on the NASCAR side, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's interesting point that you bring up. I was having a discussion this week with some of my fellow coworkers that don't follow IndyCar as closely as they follow NASCAR. I had one ask me, is their gear is the gear shift, is that inside the car? I said no, everything's done by the paddle shift there on the back of the steering wheel, because you're so tight in that driver's seat that you don't have a lot of room, a lot of wiggle room. So for people that may be new to IndyCar, new to the sport, the drivers, outside of the responsibility, obviously, of driving the car that they drive, everything is at their fingertips, literally, to make adjustments during the race. I mean, obviously, their pit crew will come in and make adjustments when they go and get new tires and put some shell gas in them. But other than that, anything on the track is adjusted right there on the steering wheel by the driver. So, obviously, the driver is not only responsible for driving the car, but he's also responsible for making those in-car and on-track adjustments.
Aero, up until maybe a year or two ago, was something really foreign to Nick and myself. Obviously, we're oval guys, we're NASCAR guys. We run in the Elite Oval Series, and Aero wasn't a big part of that until we got to the next gen car. And now, I don't know, man. Like, Aero racing out here on iRacing is probably just like they think it is in real life. It absolutely sucks.
Well, also too, I know you guys were talking about not having a lot of familiarity with the IndyCar. Also too, and this is just I take that back. This is majority of street road courses and then the speedways, or the ovals, I guess. There's a mechanism on the steering wheel that is called push to pass, and basically what that is it gives the drivers, I think it's set at different tracks each week. I think it's around 120 seconds of push to pass activation. And basically what it means is you're trying to make a pass, give you a little bit extra horsepower to use to make that pass. I know NASCAR obviously doesn't have a system like that, or at least I don't think they do. But yeah, that's something that is different when it comes to these open cars as well.
Yeah, hopefully we don't ever get a push to pass in NASCAR. Hopefully the changes that they make go up to 1,000 horsepower, take some downforce away, and let these boys get to drive some cars that handle, instead of some of these slot car races like we've been seeing.
Well, it's interesting that you talk about that, because if memory serves me correctly, I've just seen a headline this week where Kyle Larson, who's going to attempt to drive both the Indianapolis 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 right there at the end of May, was talking about that there could be 1,000 horsepower. And I think what he said, coming to Bristol this weekend, if I remember reading the headline correctly.
Well, he said that they could do it. NASCAR refuses to do it because they said that it wouldn't allow a new man. They keep coming up with all these excuses why it can't happen, money and a new manufacturer and this and that, but everybody that has spoke out in the sport has said it would cost the same and that it could be done just with a phone call. Like I said, it would be very easy to be done. So, we'll see.
Evan Hibbs got a little bit of the fence here going into 3, talking about the Aero, trying to make these passes and come up on a group of cars like that. Looks like the car's alright, but it didn't scrape the wall.
Yeah, and you don't want to scrape the wall in these cars.
No, absolutely. If you're going the way they're set up, you scrape the wall, and that could totally end your day. The back end block. But getting back to the comments Kyle already made, well, I'm looking. My bottom line is like making money. So if you want to get butts in the seats, if you want to get eyeballs on your product, if you want to make it obviously as competitive as possible, but why not pull the trigger? The cars are safe now. Are they more safe now? I think they ever have. Why not give that a shot?
NASCAR makes a lot of decisions that I don't understand, and that I think a lot of people don't understand. So we'll just have to see what they decide to do and see what the pushback is. But I want to tell you what, this battle back here around 12th, 10th place, right in here, these guys are doing some racing. We're looking at Presley Soa, AJ Hobson, Chad Simpson. These guys are the show right now at Phoenix.
Yeah, they absolutely are. The battle for fifth there, like between those handful of talented drivers that are putting on a show already. That last 37 of 200, Chad Frankenfield showing the way. But it's back in the pack is where you're finding the most battles so far today.
Yeah, and what's happening back here in the pack, what these guys are fighting is aero, and so they get up to the other car, and they're all just in this aero battle trying to find air, and you follow a guy to a corner one time by accident, right in his tire tracks, and the guy behind you can pounce him. As out in front of them right now, is that the lap car of Mark Rebellis? It is. Mark's falling back through here as well.
Like battle for third, sorry. Adriano going by, trying to work over Mark Murphy here, having tough time on that bottom. Looks like that bottom is not very great in turn 3, especially. Yeah, Tighty's getting out of the corner right there, trying to carry all the momentum.
Yeah, did you see a pass right there by Adriano right underneath there? Great pass there. Great open wheel driver that Adriano is, especially when it comes to the road courses. I know the first road course of the season here, he was flat out dominant right there in the number 56 machine for BK Racing. But he dominant on the street courses and the road courses. But he's definitely holding his own this evening here in Phoenix as we're at lap 42. Chad Frankenfield again holding down a solid lead. The pole sitter right there, setting a blistering pace already. With one caution, he had a huge lead. Obviously, with the caution, they would be able to reel him back in a little bit. But after the 2 caution laps, now you see his lead there as he's going to start running into traffic that he's going to be lapping. This is going to be interesting, like I mentioned, because see how Chad starts to react. We're on board with their Chad Frankenfield. See how it starts reacting without clean air. He's going to start getting some dirty air here shortly, and now it's going to be interesting to see how that car performs.
Yeah, like you mentioned, he's going to get in some dirty air. He's going to have to work some traffic. And I believe we're probably, if it's a 2-stop race, we're getting close to that pit window opening up here in the next 15 or 20 laps. If somebody's going to try to pit, around lap 65, 70, right in that area. And a green flag top on a short oval. You do not want to get caught.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You see, we're lap 46. I would imagine you're probably looking at that'll probably stay out again. This is just me, prognosticating. I would say probably the next 10 to 15 laps. That is riding with the caution laps that we just had a little bit ago. Yeah, I would say 10 to 15 laps. You're probably going to see guys up there top company are going to follow when they see the leader pit. They're going to try to catch him.
And something happened to Jason Brophy. He fell back from second and has gotten drove away from by Adriano. And Jason is nearly getting caught by Mark Murphy, who has also got Eric Troiano right there with him as well.
Oh. Like Ryan Schold and Troiano, maybe Gavin Hibbs got a little bit of the wall there, a bit of contact.
Yeah, very lucky that everybody kept all their fenders or wings and whatnot there intact off of turn 2.
Yeah, good driving there by all those drivers. One thing I want to talk about that when you brought up, when you're talking about some patience is a virtue in these Indy cars. You've seen a little bit ago with Mark Rebellis getting on the brakes a little too early, and the back end of that car going out. And patience is definitely needed in this to ride this bike, especially on a speed limit, in over such, because if you're not patient, obviously you're going to get into the wall, and you can select others as well. And I'm sure in NASCAR, on ovals and road courses like in such, you have to be pretty patient as well, I would assume.
Well, no, we're driving tanks now. Chad can typically get out there and wreck 3 or 4 times and still get a top 10. Over here in IndyCar, like you mentioned, he has a lot of trouble finding the end of these races most weeks, even though he's one of the fastest guys. I don't get the luxury of having a tank over here. One wreck and you're done usually over here.
Yeah, that is something I think, to get to. Sometimes NASCAR doesn't get a lot of credit, but I think that's one thing to credit them, what they've done over the years, obviously, to make the cars safer, because, they're going at speeds that they probably never dreamed of, 20, 30, 40 years ago. But that's one thing I've noticed, that you're able to beat and bang a little bit in these new next-gen cars. But like you said, in IndyCar, man, one wiggle and your day could be done, depending on how the cookie crumbles, so to say.
So we'll have to see what happens. Typically, the first pit stop is when Chad has some issues and gets himself caught in a little bit of something or something. Sometimes it's not always his own doing, but. And Adriano has a little bit of that too. I've seen Adriano be really fast and have some issues getting to the end as well. So we'll see if both of these guys can stay 1-2, or if Jason's sitting back there thinking exactly what I'm saying here. Let's see if these guys are still here at lap 180 when it's time to go for the checker flag.
Well, you notice the time intervals there on the left-hand side, since Chad has hit some cars that are off the pace a little bit. Adriano's been able to shrink that gap there, so that's got to be one thing. Obviously, Chad's got to be looking for in the rearview mirror. Also, obviously, all of those slower cars ahead of him. So, a lot of things I think have to be going through Chad's mind right now. Obviously, on top of when the right time is to pit, you have the slower cars in front of you, and which is causing Adriano Pinero in P2 to start shrinking that lead a little bit.
Yeah, and it seems like Joseph is running right where Chad wants to run. Each end of the speedway, he is running exactly where Chad wants to run, and Chad appears to be stuck there, but we are coming up here on lap 60, and so we are getting close to that pit window opening here, depending on how far they can go on fuel. Do you foresee anybody running it dry, or do you think these guys are going to, pit as soon as they can?
I think it's too early to try to run your tank dry now. When business is going to pick up late towards the race, if you think you can run it dry, then that may be the time to do it. But we're only at lap 60, and just looking at again the intervals there, Adriano has got that down to tenth of a second now from the lead Frankenfield had earlier. You see Pinero there right on the doorstep. So Chad's got a lot to think about, and I would imagine Adriano Pinero is going to pit as you see him closing the gap even more here. I would imagine when he sees Frankenfield make that move towards pit road, I have to imagine that Adriano is going to be right behind him.
Oh, Chad gets into a lap car, and just like we talked about, once again, Chad is going to have trouble making the end of the race.
Yep. Second caution of this evening is, just talking about it just within a few laps ago, the slower cars running that same line that Chad has ran through the first 60-some laps of this race. As you see the replay here, and Chad just gets up on Joseph Morales just a little too quickly. Morales doesn't realize that Frankenfield is closing on him, and Morales doesn't give him any room. And when that happens, he spins Morales out there, which takes out the front wing of the Chad Frankenfield machine. And now Chad, being as dominant as he was through the first 60-some laps, again
Mark
now.
Murphy. Mark Murphy's in this wreck as well.
Oh, is he? Wow.
Yes.
But yeah. I'll let you dissect this here.
Look like Morales
Mark.
might have got a little loose there. Maybe not. Tough to
Wow.
say.
It looks like he just turned left, but he's going to hit that inside wall, come back across the track. And he's going to come across track, and Mark's going to come up on this, and Mark goes high at the last second. Probably should have went low. Mark Murphy there, not Mark Rebelos. Nick.
Oh, wrong mark. Wrong mark.
And he's going to get sideways here, and he's going to hit the wall pretty hard.
Find that a little bit since I picked the wrong mark.
Well, I see, Mark obviously trying to avoid that, and it's hard to, with, depth perception, how far you're away from the wall, and he just smacked the outside retaining wall there, right there where the flag stand is. So not only Little Eagle Racing seeing their race leader, Chad Frankenfield's, night could be done with that front wing. Obviously, you can go back and change it, but you're going to be down a handful of laps. But now, Mark Murphy with Little Eagle Racing smacks the wall. So not a good night, so to say, for that team for sure.
Well, boys, I hate being right about something, and I hate being right about the issues that Chad runs into during these races, but we've seen it coming. And I'm not sure if Nick has all his tools over there, but Nick, we got time for a commercial break right here. What do you say we pay some bills?
Sounds good. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
And welcome back here to the Phoenix 200 from the Phoenix International Raceway. Just cleaning up from our second caution of this evening, which took out the current leader and pole sitter for the race, Chad Frankenfield. But to his luck, so to say, he only bumped him down to 7th. So he may still be able to dig a little bit out of that pole and get back to the race lead, but the race lead does turn to Adriana Derik back under the green for the engines taking off. And I'm kind of shocked that during our commercial break there that everybody did not pit. So they got to be getting close for second.
Yeah, I would think that they would be getting close to having to pit. Oh, they did pit. They pitted under this caution. Yeah, everybody on the track pitted under this caution, so we are good there. As you see the racing here back in the field, but I want to give a quick shout out to our race sponsors. This is the Warriors for Peace series, the Warriors for Peace Indycar Series. Warriors for Peace is a foundation promoting peaceful change in the world to honor the beautiful life of Jack Shockley. Check out warriorsforpeace.org for more information. Worldwide Technology Raceway is a motorsport facility in Madison, Illinois, just east of St. Louis, Missouri, close to the Gateway Arch. It features a 1.25-mile oval that hosts NASCAR Cup Series, Craftsman Truck, and the NTT IndyCar Series, a 2-mile infield road course by Speed Tour, Trans Am, SCCA, and Porsche Club of America, and a 1/4-mile NHRA sanctioned drag strip that hosts the annual NHRA Camping World Drag Series Midwest Nationals event and the Kartplex, a state-of-the-art karting facility. And Blue Egg Marketing, they are the marketing department for small business owners. Blue Egg is your biggest fan. And caution is out once again here at Phoenix.
Take a look at what happened here. Bill's photography replay camera. .31 of Bill Cawley. Kind of looks similar to what happened to Mark a little earlier.
Yeah, it does. It looks like that overhead view there is the car just stepped out on him, got sideways. He tried to save it, but unfortunately he smacked the outside retaining wall, which surprisingly the wing of that car is still intact, but obviously he's going to have to go to the pits for repairs and stand corrected. As you did say, all the cars pitted like we thought they did. Just didn't know about it, but it's good to have boots on the ground there so we can be corrected when needed. So I would imagine now. Let's see, they pitted around. Let's see, what are we at? Lap 80, or we at 72. So we're probably looking probably 65 laps. So this could potentially be, depending on how the race plays out with cautions, we could be looking at, as we talked about earlier, a 2-stop race. As we see, we are in our third caution, so we'll run down the field here quickly. It's Adriano Pinero on the point, Jason Brophy in second, Ryan Schold in third, Troiano in fourth, and Davis round out your top five. Then it is the pole sitter Frankenfield, who is up one spot from his previous wreck in sixth, Jared Rexing in seventh, Tyler Fody eighth, Stanley ninth, and Hibbs rounds out your top 10. Looking at the top 10, anybody stand out to you so far that is having a great run? I know we're only 73 laps into this 200-lap event, but is there anybody on the board there for timing and scoring within the top 10, or expanded even more, that is having a great run so far tonight?
I don't know what you think, Chris, but guys that I'm familiar with on the oval, the NASCAR side, Tyler Fody and Ethan Stanley, I know they're good at the road racing. I don't know how good they are over here on the IndyCar side, but I know they were struggling earlier. They're tailing to the top 20, and now they're cracking the top 10. So guys slowly working their way forward. Jared Rexing as well, plus 6 spots from where he started back in 13th. So those guys creeping their way forward here as we approach halfway.
Yeah, we approach halfway. We got Adriano, Jason Brophy, Schold, Troiano, Butch Davis. Chad Frankenfield's back up to 6, boys. I mentioned that you can only wreck one time in these cars, and then you typically get done. Well, Chad got a new front wing. He was all he had, and he's not out of this just yet, guys. We'll have to wait and see what happens here and see what he's able to accomplish.
Chad proving you're wrong, like you said. You said you can only wreck this thing once, and Chad's like, watch me.
Well, Chad does not want to prove that wrong, though. Chad doesn't want to wreck again. I'm very, very sure about that. The guy who got the most damage from that wreck might have been Mark Murphy, because he took a shot there on the right side pretty good that I would think has bent some suspension components there in that 69 machine.
It'll be interesting to see, Chad here back in 6th. He had a lot of speed earlier, but he also started from the pole in that clean air, so we'll just see how much speed is in that 15 machine here back in traffic and just be able to make some moves. Proven difficult for most of these guys so far.
Well, not only was he was in that clean air, which it showed how the car adapted to that. He's also on a backup wing as well, so that's going to be an interesting story to follow, to see if he can continue to grind and potentially get a podium finish, or even win the race. I think that'd be a huge shot in the arm for not only Chad Frankenfield, but that team as well. So we are back underway, and Adriano Pinero is at point leading the way. but Jason Brophy closing in right there on second. I know he was the points leader, the last race. Don't have the updated standings. We'll be able to flash those up. But the rookie holding his own here early in the 2024 season.
Yeah, and we are about ready to start the month of May here for these boys too. I know it's only March, but it's coming pretty quick over here in the Warriors of Peace series here. We're getting ready to start talking about Indianapolis, doing a whole lot of Indianapolis stuff, and a whole bunch of coverage during that week here of a bunch of different races. And we are under caution once again here at Phoenix.
Yeah, I see that the caution flag has flown for the fourth time. We'll get you a Mark Rebellis replay when we can, but just as those cars are starting to fan out a little bit and get a little wide open, as we do see the replay here, and this is again Bill Colley, the second, the number 31 machine, driving by himself. He's high up in the marbles, and again,
Oh,
just
wow.
yeah,
Oh, my goodness.
wow, just a few laps ago, that back end went out on him. As you see, Joseph
Oh,
Morales hits him broadside, and he's going to barrel roll up into the outside retaining wall. He's going to slide down safely on the racetrack on top of that aero screen. But what a ride Joseph Morales took as he hit the Bill Colley entry broadside, which shot him up into the fence. We'll watch this again.
see if we can go on board with the 77 here. See what he sees. Yeah, similar thing to Mark Murphy there, just kind of picking where you want to go and kind of chose wrong right there, thinking 31's going to slide down the track, goes up the track, and just nowhere for him to go. You're
You
looking at
know,
the pavement.
yeah, obviously I've never been inside of a real Indy car, but I can only imagine how wild of ride that will be when you hit a car like that broadside, and then you go flipping up in the air, barrel rolling into the outer retaining wall, and then sliding on your aero screen upside down. I can only imagine what type of what type of ride that feels like.
Yeah, not much separating your head from the pavement right there. Even I know you got the aero screen now in these Indy cars, but it's gotta be a little scary sliding upside down like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you look at the not to take away, but look at the leaderboard again, and Chad Frankenfield is now into the top 5. So we may have to eat a little bit of crow here if as this race unfolds on lap 81, because we did count Chad Frankenfield out earlier in the race, the second caution of the race. He had to go replace his nose of that car, and now he has driven his way back up into the top 5. So maybe his luck is changing. That remains to be seen. But kudos to Chad Frankenfield getting the necessary adjustments, necessary fixes that were needed, and he has now driven that car, like I said, back into the top 5.
Yeah, I don't know if you could call somebody lucky getting caught up in a wreck while they're leading. I mean, it's not as bad as it could have been, I guess. That's the way I would look at it. I wouldn't call it luck, but I would say not as bad as it could have been.
Yeah, I can agree with that. As we look back in the pack at these awesome liveries that these drivers have brought to the Phoenix Raceway, I'm always a huge fan of the number 43 entry, the old style STP. That you guys from NASCAR should appreciate that. The old STP Richard the King. Richard Petty, what brought that to the track day in and day out. That is by far my favorite livery on this open wheel circuit.
Yeah, but I don't think that's a Richard Petty scheme as much as it is the John Andretti scheme from the late 90s. And then I believe, did John come over and run the Indy 500 one time with the STP-inspired scheme that looked like this as well? I believe so. John's very underrated as a driver as far as NASCAR, open wheel, everything. John Andretti was able to be competitive and successful everywhere. One of the few drivers who was able to win at Richard Petty Motorsports there when he was driving that 43 car in the late 90s. I remember a Martinsville race where he led about half the race and dominated that thing.
Well, don't forget the young Tony Stewart started in IndyCar, had drove the 500 as well. Robbie Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, and I'm sure I'm probably missing a name or two as we're back underway at lap 83. So a lot of NASCAR guys have crossed over into the IndyCar world, and you know what? I think it's great. It gets a lot of eyes on IndyCar. I know a lot of people don't pay attention to IndyCar, don't find it interesting, so on and so forth. But I think a lot of credit needs to go to Jimmy Johnson these last couple of years running the IndyCar series, and the amount of eyeballs that came along with bringing Jimmy Johnson onto the series. Big name from NASCAR, multiple time champion, and like I said, the amount of fanfare he got, I think IndyCar owes him a lot of credit.
But imagine if he could have been competitive. He really wasn't competitive over there in IndyCar. I think if Jimmy would have went over there, ran a couple races like we're about to see Kyle Larson do, I think Kyle Larson's going to have a shot to win the Indy 500.
Even Kurt Busch, didn't Kurt Busch do pretty well on Indy 500? About 10 years ago?
Yeah, he did as well. But yes, getting back to Kyle Larson, I think Kyle Larson has proven that he can pretty much race in anything. And having the equipment and the car that he's going to have, Harold McLaren and Hendrick Motorsports behind them, I think you're absolutely right. I think Kyle Larson is going to have the tools, not only from the team but from the driver himself, that he's going to have a big shot the 500.
And a lot of people also, when all this was announced, they're just talking about this Indy 500 and running that Indy. But he has said that he wants to run some other ovals that they run. And this is a two-time try. He's going to run the Indy 500 this year and next year.
As of right now, I know this year, with Texas being revamped, I know IndyCar obviously is not going to be in Texas this year. So obviously Indy, the oval there, and then Iowa is an oval, Milwaukee, and then switch. Usually IndyCar would go to Nashville the first weekend in August and run the streets of Nashville. Well, with the new construction, we see a car coming down pit road. With the new construction of the NFL stadium, Tennessee Titans, IndyCar has moved from the streets of Nashville to the Nashville Speedway, which I know you guys are probably familiar with. So IndyCar getting a few more ovals in there. And the one thing I would like to see IndyCar do, if I may for a minute, is they're having a doubleheader weekend in Iowa and Milwaukee. I would love to see the first night of both of those doubleheaders be night, because you think about the liveries, that how they would look off the lights at both of those ovals, I think would be tremendous.
Yeah, and it's great to see the resurgence that Iowa is getting, and some of these other tracks that have went away are getting. As right now, the battle is on right in front of Chad Frankenfield. Chad is looking ahead at Troiano, Scholl, right in front of him, racing hard, and he's got to be sitting there thinking about taking an opportunity to go Chad wide if it presents itself right here.
Yeah, but if you're Chad Frankenfield in that driver's seat, you got to be thinking too, patience, because just a handful or so of laps ago, you were almost taken out of the race. So you want to race.
You know Chad, Derik. Patience is not in his vocabulary.
you want to race, but you still have. We're not even halfway yet. So you got lucky where you only had to change the front wing. So if you get too overly aggressive here, we've seen cars that back end on Mark Rebellis and the other car, the name escapes me in a minute. That back end would go out. So if I'm Chad, you're walking a dangerous line as you see him move up to fourth.
Yeah, Chad does not have patience in his vocabulary. Chad has one speed. It is kill 110% every lap, and let it fall where it may. I think Nick and I can both attest to that on the racetrack as well.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with that. As you see, Schold here falling back a little bit here. He lost a spot to Chad and Eric Toriano in the 14, and falling back in the clutches of Butch Davis here in the 43.
As they get up to a slower car, lap traffic of Mark Revelos once again. He is falling back to the field. Mark's having trouble out here tonight. Got that wreck, and it seems like it's knocked a lot of the speed out of that machine.
I'm not sure if our timing and scoring has been correct. It's showing that race leader Adriano Pinero is in the pits.
He's just that fast.
I'm saying at lap 98. So I mean,
yeah, that is weird.
Yeah, so we might have a little bit of a glitch there, but we are almost halfway here at lap 99, pushing 100. And we are getting there halfway. We just crossed the halfway threshold. You see Adriano Pinero is somehow in the pits. He's leading up the race as well. And then you have Jason Brophy, Toriano in third, Chad Frankenfield pushing his way back to fourth, Ryan Scholl in fifth, Jared Rexing in sixth, Butch Davis in the 43 entry is seventh, Tyler Fody 8th, Ethan Stanley 9th, and Dora round out your top 10 at lap 101.
Yeah, and that battle back there around Tyler Fody and Butch and Jared and those guys, that is one heck of a battle right now. As you see Butch taking a look here into Jared, doesn't get in there, had to squeeze back up in line, try to make a pass once again. Not trying to lose a spot there to the tag team Lake Norman guys right behind him. Tyler Fody and Stanley being teammates. He's probably going to sit there and let Tyler try to work around both these cars and follow him through. As Jared seems to be holding up this whole group right now. At least that's the rule of it on the stock car side. When you have a gap out in front of you and they're starting to line up behind you, it means you're in the way.
I think that's probably clear cut across any racing circuit. That if you're the slower car, you probably want to get out of the way of these quicker cars. Interesting looking at the intervals. 4 cars within 2 seconds of the race leader. So this could make for a interesting finish when we get there.
Yeah, and we started with a long green flag run there, and then we had these rash of cautions. And now I think everybody's settling in again. We're trying to make some laps. Starting to close in on the back of some cars again. We've already worked Mark. Mark's off pace tonight. He's just trying to survive. Sits though, Adriano's got a big lead over Jason and Eric Toriano, Chad Frankenfield, Ryan Scholl, Jared Rexing, Butch Davis. That's where the battle starts. Butch still trying to find a way around Jared. And this is the closest battle on the racetrack right now.
I've noticed during that handful of weeks, Jared Rexing has been being a good defender. And he has a good ability to keep cars behind him. Him getting past there as I say that, but he just seems like he can hold off very well.
Yeah, Jared's very good at finding his inner Ryan. He's very good at being out there and making that car really wide and being really hard to pass. And that's a knack. It's not something. It's not easy to. Just because we say it's hard to pass doesn't mean it's easy to keep somebody behind you. You have to know how to do it. You have to know how to work the air. You have to be ready to change. If you do the same thing every corner, then the guy behind you knows where he's going to have to go to get the clean air. Whereas if you mix it up a little bit and you're always moving around and you're always finding a way to dump some, that's a knack. It's not easy to do. It's a skill set that you have to have. But once Jared got passed by one, the whole group passed him. So He did not like that dirty air.
Yeah, it showed that car handled really differently when Jared got into that dirty air, and there's a few cars that did punish him, but we are at lap 112, and Adriano Pinero still somehow in the pits and leading the race at the same time. So you got to think kudos there to Adriano Pinero for being able to pull off, I think, the longest pit here in Open Wheel Series history while maintaining a 1.4-second lead over rookie Jason Brophy.
Yeah, rookie Jason, rookie and maybe champion. These guys are going to have to step it up if they're going to go and get him. But I got a question here for you, Derik. All right, all this talk, it's getting cloudy out here. There's not going to be any rain today. But in the near future, Chad is likely going to have some rain in some of these IndyCar events, especially on road courses. Are you looking forward to that, or do you not want it to happen?
Oh, well, this is news to me, and that'll make for exciting racing because now, just like, and I think NASCAR does this, if there is rain in the area or potentially rain during the race, teams are given rain tires. I can't remember if NASCAR does that or not. So that'll really make it interesting because when the track dries, you're gonna have to make a choice. If you want to stick with the rain tire in case the rain comes again, or you want to put the racing slick on there. So a lot more strategy, I think, will come into play when we do hit some inclement weather.
Yeah, it is. It launched a couple weeks ago there, did the rain. There's not a rain tire for the Indy cars yet, I don't believe, and there's not a rain tire for the stock cars yet. But yeah, NASCAR has adopted a couple different rain tires. They have a road course rain tire and a short oval rain tire. But of course, at places like Bristol and places where there's a lot of banking, NASCAR does not even attempt to run in the rain. And they did try to run in the rain there a couple years ago at Daytona in a pack, and they wrecked the whole field. So probably should have thrown a yellow there instead of letting them race down through those sprinkles.
Well, wasn't that the same way at Chicago? Was it last year or 2 years ago that it rained there in Chicago and it just made for one sloppy race?
Yeah, the street course. It had a bunch of rain. They raced on the wet in that street course when SVG came over and wiped the floor with them. But yeah, SVG would have probably had an advantage anyway coming over, being the first street course. That's the first time any of those stock car guys, those NASCAR guys, had seen a street course. And then by the way, you throw in that it's wet and it's puddling. Like, it was the perfect storm there for a guy like SVG who has experience in street courses and racing in the rain and racing those type of cars. And with how similar the V8 supercars are to the next street car. So it was a perfect storm, and SVG took advantage of it.
Yeah, he absolutely did. And the one thing I think about when I think about that race, I remember seeing the guy had to cut out a hole on the side of the advertising for the storm drain so the water could drain down in it. I just remember that.
But yeah, it should be exciting. We'll see if they can race on a dry track this year, see how that happens. And SVG, of course, has came into NASCAR and has ran pretty well there in the Xfinity Series. Gotten the finishes. He's finished better than he's ran, but he's survived and doing a pretty well job over there at Trackhouse, I believe. So.
Yeah, let me ask this. I do a IndyCar podcast on Tuesdays, and a few weeks ago, our co-host was asked a question to our guest. How well, and I don't know if either one of you will be able to answer this as we see a battle here for 8, but how well do you think Max Verstappen would come if he was to come over to IndyCar? Do you think over/under 3 wins for him here?
For who? For Max?
Was it the gentleman that's tearing it up in Formula One?
Yeah, Max Verstappen.
Yeah,
it depends on the car. I feel like IndyCar and and F1 especially, it's more about the car than the driver, in my opinion. So I think it depends. If he comes over and he gets in a Penske car or a Ganassi car, yeah, he's going to run really well, have a shot to win some races. The strategy's going to be right. But if he comes over and he's just, running for some mid-marker team or back-marker team, I think he would be there. That would be about it.
I could see him doing really well on like a road course. Oval, I don't think he'd do too well on, but I think throw him out there on a road course, I think he'd be running top 5, top 10 for sure.
It would be interesting, though. See, bring Max over for an Indy 500.
And that's kind of what I thought. I could see him being a player in Road America, which I know NASCAR runs there, or Mid-Ohio, or the St. Petersburg in the street there. But I just think he would struggle at Indy. Maybe not the road course. Maybe the oval I could see him struggle at, and then Iowa, Milwaukee, the other ovals. But the street and road courses on the Indy circuit, I think he would thrive.
Yeah, I mean, it just depended on how hard he wanted to jump into. Like, you look at Juan Pablo Montoya, another guy, like, I compare to Johnny Andretti with, he's very underrated for the talent that he was behind the wheel. He raced everything, was competitive in everything, won in everything. The guy could drive anything, and, even won in NASCAR a couple different times, and had a couple shots to win on some ovals, had one really good season where he finished up there in the points. But a lot of people, when you say Juan Pablo Montoya, they think jet dryer. That seems to be where everybody goes.
Yeah, yeah. You can't. I don't think that'll ever. And I know no pun intended. That will never burn. I don't think it will.
But right now, we are now down to about 70 laps to go. We know that they can run somewhere around 60. So at what point is this pit window going to open, and at what point do you pit? Do you want to be on the early side of the window, the late side of the window? Early might be great for a time advantage as far as to the end of the race, but if you pit early and you get trapped a lap down, that's your race. As we have seen, it is way too hard to pass to be able to recover from having to restart outside the top 10.
Yeah, definitely. Pit strategy is obviously going to be coming into play. We're at lap 134 of 200, so we got about 65 or so laps left. So yeah, pit strategy is definitely going to come into play, because we don't know how many cautions there will be between now and lap 200. So yes, pit strategy could potentially bring this for Jason Brophy or anybody behind him.
So when do you pit, Derik? When are you wanting to come down? As we have a pitter right now. Who is that?
Looks like coming in.
Tad.
What a interesting strategy here. As we see, is this a replay that we have?
And Mark Murphy. Mark Murphy's in the pit road as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I feel like this was a team decision pre-race that they're going to pit when the window opens and stay out the rest of the race. I feel like that's something they had to discuss as a team in pre-race.
Well, they may be on the thought what we talked about earlier is running till it's dry, because at lap 137 is when they just pitted. So you're looking at you're going to run 63 laps.
And here comes Adriano, Tyler Fode, Butch Davis. Here comes everybody else.
There you go. So the pit window is opening now, and I would think with that move, that ought to put, when everything cycles through, is that going to put Frankenfield in the lead?
Ooh, he had to overcome 4 seconds, and Adriano jumped on it pretty quick. We'll have to see where Adriano comes out here. But yeah, this is something that Nick and I don't see a whole lot of in the oval side of things, in NASCAR side, is pitting when the window opens no matter what. Typically we're going to run till the caution comes out. You're not going to sit there and have a strategy pre-race that no matter what happens, this lap is when it opens and we're going to pit.
Yeah, it was an interesting call by Little Eagle Racing to come in both at the same time. Curious to see if this is going to pay off or not as we see other cars here coming down pit road. So it seemed to me and everyone else that when everything cycles through, we should see Adriano back on point here. That we're thinking.
Yeah, I think Adriano did a way better job than most everybody did on pit entry. He has increased his gap over everybody. What a job, Adriano. What an in and out of pit road there for Adriano. And of course, Tanner Watkins still has not pitted. Ethan Stanley, Jared Rexing, Mark Murphy's on pit road. So that was not Mark Murphy. I thought it was Mark Murphy sitting on pit road with Chad, but it was not. My bad on that. As Mark is down now, everyone else has pitted with the exception of Tanner Watkins.
As you can see, that number 3 entry there just out collecting as many points as possible before he has to duck in for his routine service. So Adriano Pinero maybe played.
Oh, we have a caution, and Chad had not got back on the lead lap.
Oh my!
What a break for Tanner Watkins. We just have 4 cars on the lead lap right here, boys.
Looks like it was a 10 of Jared Rexing here. We'll take a look at a replay, see what happened. See him with...
Oh. Oh, man. Just lost it.
And we've seen that a couple times tonight, just kind of guys getting in there and backing into the fence. Oh.
Yeah, I think.
Oh.
Oh, wow, that could have been more vicious than what it was. But I think, what is that? The third time tonight we've seen a car at the back end just goes out and he puts it into the outside retaining wall.
Take a look at who might have clipped him there down low. Who that was. Guy's barely missing.
What a break for Tanner Watkins, boys. He's going to get the pit right here and come out in P4 with fresh tires. What a break there. That's some Paul Wolf strategy there. Vintage Paul Wolf strategy. Not the NASCAR reference there. I'm not sure who the best strategist is in IndyCar. Got a name over there for us, Derik?
I would say right now the strategist for Joseph Newgarden, and the name escapes me at the moment. Just so dominant this past weekend at St. Petersburg. Obviously, he's going to be defending Indy 500 champion as well. So I would say if you're looking for top strategists right now, you're probably looking at that Penske group. And speaking of that, what a weekend they had as we're in a caution here. Not only a weekend that Penske had, but the weekend Chevrolet had as well. Chevrolet going 1, 2, 3, and 4 finishers at St. Petersburg, and Team Penske going 1, 3, and 4 finishers. So what a great weekend for Team Penske and Team Chevrolet.
The on-track was great, but I heard some rumblings there pre-race. I believe an Andretti was saying, maybe Penske should sell the series.
That is a interesting conversation. I think and I don't know how much that comes out of frustration from Michael Andretti being turned away from F1, but I think there are some tweaks. I think that IndyCar obviously can make. Now, who am I to criticize IndyCar? But I think there are a few tweaks that they can make. I know the television numbers came out today. Let me go back through on X or Twitter, depending on how you look at it. Adam Stern, a great follow in Autosports, at @A_S12, said that NBC got 975,000 viewers for Sunday's IndyCar opener on the streets of St. Petersburg. And that's TV only. That's not including Peacock. That's just on the TV side. And that's down from the 1.18 million viewers that they've had just one season ago for that opening race.
Yeah, IndyCar's in a tough spot, and I'm not an IndyCar guy, I'm a NASCAR guy, but I feel like they put all their eggs in the Indy 500 basket, and that's great. It's a huge event, but I think a lot of people can name Indy 500 champions, but they can't name the overall points champions from those seasons. So I think IndyCar's kind of got to shift the focus a little bit more to the points and a little bit away from the Indy 500. As great of an event as that is, you want people to watch all season, not just one race.
And I think you're absolutely spot on when it comes to viewership and how races are marketed, because you look at what NASCAR does with the way they market each individual race. Obviously, the Daytona 500 is their Super Bowl, but they put a lot of stock into marketing and not televising, but just selling the other races that are on the schedule. And then you think about what do they have? NASCAR Race Hub on Mondays, I think, on the FS1. So then basically you have NASCAR running all week during the season as we are back to lead. But when it comes to IndyCar, outside of the Indianapolis 500, you don't see IndyCar marketing those other races, and you don't see IndyCar on mainstream television like you do NASCAR throughout the week, excluding Sundays. As we are back underway at lap 150. So we are 50 laps from the completion of this race, and you see Adriano Pinero leading with it, Jason Brophy in second, Colano in third, and Jack Frankenfield in fourth. He was the poster of this race, and Tyler Fody in fifth. So a lot of cars, a lot of great competitors that brought great cars to this track today, or right up to the front. And I talked about early in this race how business is about to pick up. Well, within under 50 laps to go, boys, I would think that you better strap those belt buckles a little tighter, because I think we're about to see these drivers show their hand as to what they truly have down the stretch.
We'll see how well Tanner Watkins can stay up here. He hasn't really been up here all night, kind of played the strategy game right there and was able to get track position. Let's see if he's going to be able to keep it.
Hey, I hate to do this, boys, but I have got to step away. We have a quarter-mile tornado on the ground about 10 minutes away heading for us. I'll be back, maybe.
Oh, boy. Well, good luck with that.
Safe.
And stay safe for sure. I know we got thunderstorms here in central Indiana that are starting to roll through, so we'll keep an eye on those as well. But for the meantime, lap 154 of 200, and Tyler Watkins did try to gamble on pitting and with positioning, but it may not pay off for him in the long run. He's dropped from 4th to 7th quickly. This may not be Watkins' ninth, but Adriano Pinero from that first that we thought at the time picked out to Chad Frankenfield. Pinero had in this race, Chad Frankenfield and Adriano Pinero are the only two of this race so far at lap 157.
There's a good battle back here for about the 9th spot. Saw a little bit of 3-wide action through the dog leg there, briefly. Maybe a little contact. All these guys trying to get around Tanner Watkins. Oh, right in the wall. With Saduk.
Definitely don't see a caution yet, as we are green through still at lap 158, but Pinero still showing the race. So maybe Saduk had a brush with the wall, but nothing to expect on the track.
The 22 of getting around Ryan Schold right there. Leslie Sawyer trying to work over Tanner Watkins.
Yeah, Watkins tried to do again pit strategy. It almost fell, right as he planned out. I'm sure. He was fourth, and now he dropped all the way to eighth. An unlucky break for Tanner Watkins here this evening. Still showing the way at lap 161 is Adriano Pinero with a 1.2 over Jason Brophy and Toriano right there, and Chad Frank mentioned was the pole sitter for today's race. Early accident thought would ruin his day, but he is working to be back up to fourth and still has a outside chance of taking home a nice trophy with at lap 160.
And it's getting down to crunch time now, so we'll see if anybody has anything for Adriano Pinero. Guys, trying not to let him get too far out there. Running out of laps, so running back down here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. As the laps slowly tick away, one lap at a time. We want to start trying to obviously close that gap with the leader. But since Pinero has been out in front, he's been flexing his muscle since he has been at the top of the mountain there, and the other cars behind him are going to have their hands full. To start to close this race out.
We look at the battle for the 9th spot here between Tanner Watkins, Nicholas Derik, and Ryan Schold. This is the closest battle on track at the moment. These guys bunched up. But Derik, just to circle back to what you and Chris were talking about earlier with the struggles of kind of IndyCar and a little bit of NASCAR too. I think, to your guys' point, I think if you look at kind of any sport really in general right now, you see the NBA kind of struggling, MLB struggling for ratings. I think it's just a sports issue kind of at the moment. There's only a handful of leagues and series that I can think of that are actually going up in viewership numbers at the moment. Even F1, we saw the U.S. ratings tank, I believe it was like 20 or 30% or something like that recently. So I think struggles across the board for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think that maybe some people have thought the product has gotten a little dry. I know for myself, and again, I'm just speaking, my own self. I became less of a NASCAR fan. We can probably talk more about this when they decided to go to stage racing. I mean, I understand why they did it, to try to break up that one car dominance. But I think, of myself, and I think there's a few others. I don't think I'm a minority here that have just that were tuned off by NASCAR when they end up going, like I said, when they went to that stage racing.
Yeah, I agree, and as Chris mentioned with IndyCar too, somebody brought up a good point about NASCAR. Kind of the same kind of concept as Chris was saying. But you can name kind of the recent Daytona 500 wins, but they tried to create a Game 7 moment per se, with the playoffs and the way they formatted everything now. Kind of just 4 cars, 1 race, whoever wins, the best of the 4 is the champion. To me, it kind of oh, we got somebody in the wall here, like Ryan Schold, perhaps. Yeah, see Ryan Schold there, lost that piece of that front wing.
Yeah, I seen the tire smoke there coming down the backstretch there, and then I seen the pieces fly across the track. I was kind of shocked that the caution flag didn't come out there, but it looks like race control is going to allow the race on here as we're down to under 30 laps, and still the lead holds true as we see a car coming down pit road, and we're going to throw a little bit of a replay here to see exactly how Ryan Schold smacked that outside retaining wall as we're running it back here right there. I think you just He's coming down the front stretch there, last turn. Again, back in, just goes out, smacks the outside retaining wall, and then he knows he's going to have to come down to the pits. He's got to wait for the all clear from his spotter so he can take that line down into the pits. But yes, 25 laps to go here, and the story holds true. Adriano Pinero with a 1.4-second lead over rookie Jason Brophy. So if Pinero can hold on for these last 25 laps, he will win his second race of the 2024 season. I know we opened up on the road course there that Pinero absolutely dominated. And now this evening, again, if he can hold on in 24 laps, he's going to be a two-time race winner this season.
We'll see. You see him working a little bit of lap traffic now, so see if that comes into play. Thought coming to play earlier when Chad was leading and Pinero was running him down. So far, able to maintain that lead and stretch it out a little bit over the 88 of Jason Brophy.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I know we talk about that a lot, but we've seen what happened when Chad Frankenfield got into lap traffic, got into dirty air. Will the same hold true for Adriano Pinero as he starts hitting not only lap traffic but dirty air as well? And you got to think, if you're Jason Brophy at this point, you're in the catbird seat because especially if Pinero's car doesn't react well to lap traffic or to dirty air, you're less than 2 seconds behind. You got plenty of time to pounce.
This is the closest battle on track here, the battle for 11th. We got the 63 of AJ Hobson trying to get around 3 of Tanner Watkins. Watkins slowly falling back, but still plus 12 on where he started the day back in 23rd. So definitely positive move forward for that 3 car.
Yeah, absolutely for sure. As the laps start to tick down there with 20 to go, I know I have a few premier sponsors. I want to thank first Blue Edge Marketing. You can check them out on the World Wide Web at www. I don't know if people can use that. BlueEdgeMarketing.com, and then also too, you see down in the middle left side of the tiny scoring bar, Worldwide Technology Racing. Great racing right outside the arches there in St. Louis. They have a plethora of racing circuits there. I know IndyCar goes there. I do believe NASCAR goes there as well. So you got to thank the premier sponsors that make it possible for us to bring this great race on the Elite Racing Network. And again, business is probably picking up here with 17 laps to go. Adriano Pinero has come stretched his lead out now over Jason Brophy for 2.3 seconds. So that dirty air, that lap traffic, that we wondered how Pinero's car would react to that. He is going through that dirty air like a hot knife through butter as he is extending his lead now. It's 15 laps to go.
See the last 2 times by about 2/10 better than 88 Jason Brophy, so still got a lot of speed in that 56. Ended up to 2.8, like you said, almost doubled his lead since the last time we mentioned it.
Yes, he has. Yes, he has, rather. So Pinero's kind of got that car on cruise control. But now 14 laps from the finish, and Pinero attempting to be a 2-time winner on this 2024 Warriors for Peace IndyCar Series. As you see, the battle for third there is very tight between Soriano, Frankenfield, Bowden, and Ethan Stanley, and even Butch Davis there as well. Frankenfield was the pole sitter for this race. early accident that he found himself in that knocked him from the pole position all the way down to seventh. He has worked tirelessly to get back into the top five. He is currently riding in fourth, actually about 6 seconds off the pace with just 11 laps to go. So you got to think, as much as Chad has that passion, I think coming home in fourth from the early damage that he had to recover from, I think he's going to be with him.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm surprised that Chad didn't have more damage. And usually when I reckon these cars are done for the day, especially like that, so I'm surprised he was able to just slap a new wing on the front of that thing, and he's back up here running in the top five. I'm pretty shocked because, like I mentioned, a couple of these cars, like even Mark Murphy hit the wall pretty good earlier, and that's still running out here. So these cars are more durable than I thought there, Derek.
Yeah, in real life IndyCar, the teams actually have a backup front wing and a backup back wing, just for circumstances like this, and to change them is probably a 5 to 6 minute process. As you see two cars there, and the aforementioned Chad Frankenfield, Chad Frankenfield and Tyler Cody. After that is as Cody takes over, and now we have another wreck in the front stretch there. Caution number 6 looks like Tyler Fody and Chad Frankenfield. Is that accurate?
Yeah, these guys are very familiar with each other on the NASCAR side. I was just about to say how great of a day Tyler Fody was having. Wasn't the greatest car earlier. Able to work his way up here, running top five, and looked like they had a little bit of contact here on the dog leg, and then I'm not sure if Chad wasn't too happy with that or just got tight. A little bit of contact there. Surprised they both saved it, but down here, I'm not sure if Chad was a little upset or something, or just got tight off the corner, but a little bit more contact, and both of them, I assume, done for the day right now, huh, Derek? That was a little worse than the first one for Chad.
Yeah, I would say with the handful of laps that we have left, I would say both those cars are probably done for the day. Is the way you've seen Chad Frankenfield fly through the air. These suspensions on these cars are not so great. So I can't imagine the hit Chad took when he went airborne there, as we see here shortly coming across the start finish line. If you want to play it back just a little farther, maybe.
Yep.
But yeah, caution 6 here with just 5 laps to go, as we see on the Mark Rebellis replay. It's possible, unless until we hear from the driver himself. Frankenfield goes down to the apron, and again, him and Fody touch. That back end goes out as you see Frankenfield go flying in the air. Suspension is probably completely shot, along with that other backup front wing that Chad put on his car earlier. As you see the car continue to roll, but I can't imagine it's got to be driving anywhere close to where it was at the beginning of the race, obviously. Yeah, I would imagine again another disappointing finish for Chad Frankenfield in this 2024 season. Tough luck. As you see Frankenfield coming in, I would not be surprised to see him and Fody retire for the season.
Yeah, I'm surprised that 15 machine is still rolling the way he kind of half flipped over, half did a barrel roll down there on the front stretch and was able to roll around. Is there a limit to how many front wings they got in the sim versus real life? Do they carry unlimited on the truck?
Well, I don't know unlimited in the sim, but like I said, in real life, teams have 2 sets of front wings and 2 sets of back wings. So, all right, we are at 4 laps to go. Let's reset the field for you, because what a 4-lap shootout that we are going to have. Adriano Pinero, the only other leader in tonight's race, is currently in first, and followed by rookie Jason Brophy in the number 88 machine. He is second. Then following him in third is Eric Troiano in the number 14 entry, and just behind him in fourth place is Ethan Stanley in the number 91 machine for Lake Norman Motorsports. Now, cracking the top 5 is the number 43 STP machine of Butch Davis for FBR Motorsports. Just outside the top 5, in 6th place currently, is Presley Sora in the number 98 Presley Sora Racing Machine. Behind him in 7th is Nicholas Sudik in the Team Watson Racing number 22 entry. Coming in currently in 8th place with just 3 laps to go, Chad Simpson in the number 42 machine for Satellite Racing. In 9th place currently, A.J. Hobson in the number 63 Dark Horse Racing entry. And rounding out the top 10 with just 3 laps to go, took a pit strategy gamble, but Tanner J. Watkins in the number 3 machine for Illinois Racing is your top 10. So what a interesting race we are going to have to the checkered flag as the pace cars off. We are back underway in this 2-lap shootout. What a jump Adriano Pinero got going into turn 1. Jason Brophy right behind him, trying to close that gap ever so slightly. But Brophy just may run out of laps, may not have the ability to do so on this night. Final lap, white flag, Adriano Pinero at the point, trying to pick up, secure his 2nd win of the season. On the backstretch, Brophy trying to give it everything he has to pedal that car past Pinero, but it looks like it's just not going to be enough as the checkered flag flies, and Adriano Pinero picks up his 2nd win of this 2024 Open Wheel IndyCar Series Warriors for Peace victory at the Phoenix 200, following Pinero in 2nd place. Again, rookie Jason Brophy. 3rd place, Troiano. 4th place, Ethan Stanley. 5th place, Presley Sora. 6th place, Butch Davis. 7th place, Nicholas Sudik. 8th place, Simpson. 9th, A.J. Hobbs. And rounding out the top 10 was Tanner Watkins. So congratulations, huge win for Adriano Pinero, who picks up his 2nd victory, like I said, in this 2024 season, as you see him doing the famous smoky burnout right there at the start finish line. Hopefully, we'll be able to hear from the 3 drivers that made up tonight's podium. Again, Adriano Pinero winning his 2nd race of the season here at the Phoenix 200. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, impressive out of the 56 Bread King machine here. Capitalize. Was it running 2nd to Chad early on there? Chad made that contact with that lap car, and Pinero just never looked back. We saw him capitalize on the pit stop. It increased his lead, and nobody was really able to have had a shot at him there. Brophy, I thought, might have a shot there, given the late caution, but wasn't able to keep with him there. And what a drive by Pinero, picking up the 2nd win of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. We had, I believe, if memory serves me correctly, we had 2 different leaders of this race. Chad Frankenfield, who was on point this evening, early wreck with him in a slower vehicle, set him back in the field. He was able to work his way back up to 4th, but then again, stop me if you've heard this before, but a late race incident cuts Chad Frankenfield's day short. So Adriano Pinero, after passing Chad Frankenfield earlier in the race on 2 pit stops, takes the checkered flag here at the Phoenix International Raceway in the Phoenix 200. Let's step away if you can. Let's pay a couple bills, and then we will come back, and hopefully we will be connected with all 3 podium finishers, Pinero, Brophy, and Troiano, from this evening's race.
isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back here to the post-race show of the Phoenix 200. I am Derik Vance, and we are now have the pleasure to be joined by the second place finisher in tonight's race, Jason Brophy. Jason, first and foremost, congratulations on picking up another podium this evening. Talk about your race a little bit.
150 laps of fuel saving, and then knowing I didn't have the pace. When I pit that last time under green, and Adriano had only got one lap less than me and pulled 2.5 seconds, I went, uh-oh. I knew I long run pace wasn't that good relative to him. I feel like I was the second best car today, driver, whatever. I felt like I was pretty good in the long run, but just didn't have the match to him. So, good to see him have a good race this season and actually finish one out. He's had a lot of bad luck over the course of the ovals. I know he's really good on road, so I have to kind of keep an eye on him at points. Not ideal, but still a good day for me overall, P2. I think that's where I probably deserve to finish, so I'll take it.
Yeah, I would imagine, coming into the year, you being, obviously a rookie on this series. What have you learned? Talk about what you've learned so far through this first handful of races that maybe caught you by surprise.
I only win when it's close. Then again, I think all 4 finishes this season I've been involved in on the ovals. This is the first one's actually been, a decent blowout at a whole 0.46. I mean, that makes it seems a lot better. Definitely Panero's class field. But, I've raced around a lot of people here before. A lot of people I'm racing around at the front. So, and I've done a lot of racing this car. I'm a rookie in here, but I'm not a rookie overall. So, hard to say I've learned a ton. I've done a better job. I like the longer races. I feel like I can execute better. I don't have to push from the start. Sprint style. I tend to need some time to get into it. So it's helping me get into a rhythm a little quicker. Just settle in and ride. So, and I've learned how to fuel save because I feel like I've done a lot of that in these long races.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Jason, last thing, obviously, give us anybody you want to shout out and thank.
Yeah. Sure. I want to shout out my team, private label team hype, Tommy Milner, Ty Stover. Tommy obviously doing some IMSA Sebring this weekend for Corvette. So, glad to see that I'm glad they brought me on. Glad they, let me race with them. I want to thank Josh Chin, even though he didn't really help me much tonight. He's been a lot of help over the course of the season. Really just you guys for broadcasting. Appreciate it, Chad, for putting on the league. Yeah. That's, I think, it. I'm probably forgetting someone, but,
Jason, good stuff as always. Congratulations on your second place finish. And we will see you at the streets of Long Beach here in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
And that was Jason Brophy finishing second this evening. As you see the results there up on screen. If we don't have anybody else here, I guess that will do it for our post-race coverage. Again, Adriano Panero, as Jason just pointed out there, the class of the field, taking the checkered flag in the Phoenix 200 here at the Warriors for Peace IndyCar Series. So I want to thank everyone that made it possible this evening for us to bring you this broadcast. on the Elite Racing Network. Also, too, I want to thank all of the fine sponsors that are here for this 2024 season. Because again, like I said, without them, none of this would be possible. Blue Egg Marketing, Worldwide Technology Raceway, TA Services, and so much more. So for myself and everyone else here again at the Elite Racing Network, as on the IndyCar side, we will see you in a few weeks' time at the streets of Long Beach. So until then, stay safe, and we will see you at the next race.